In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
All right, guys, so we finally had the moment that everyone's been waiting for. Love them or hate them, everyone was waiting to see what was going to happen. And I think most of us at this point predicted that this is what we were going to get. I know I've been talking about it for over a year now, pretty quick after the 2020 election, that this was going to come. I think it's fantastic for the party. I think it's absolutely fantastic for the voters. And one thing that we saw that we didn't really see too much from Trump before, at least on the campaign trail, was this Trump was very calm, collected, and in control. But at the same time, he still peppered in those little bits of comedy, those little bits of charisma that let you know he's still Trump. And that's enough to get a lot of people excited. That's always been the biggest criticism, is that Trump's out of control, Trump's crazy. Well, you can't launch that criticism on him after this speech. Now, whether or not he maintains this is something, I mean, that's a completely separate argument. I hope he does, because this was Trump at his best. He stuck to the script when he needed to stick to the script, and he went off record, like I said, to pepper in those little bits of Trump that people love. The other fantastic thing that he did, he laid out his accomplishments that he performed as president, and he put them in direct contrast to what you're currently seeing. He's running on his record, which is exactly what he needs to do. He talked about the state of the economy, inflation, our energy independence that we've lost, and gas prices, what they were then as opposed to now. I believe the average, this is the average, not during COVID, which is the number that Trump gave you, was like $2.30. Well, I mean, that's great. So there's a lot to be excited about here. Talked about his war stance and how he was anti-war throughout the entire 4 years. Fun fact for you, if you're not aware of this, Trump is the only president since Carter who has not expanded our military influence in some parts of the region. He talked about his relationship with North Korea. He's the first president to ever step across. He talked about the Abraham Accords. Absolutely fantastic, guys. This right here is how Trump wins. If Trump stays in control of his own ego, if he stays out of his own way, and he runs on this platform, he is a force in 2024 again. An absolute unstoppable force. Especially, at the very least, within the GOP party. There's a lot of people that have been turned off by the rhetoric and some of the comments made. This right here is how you get those voters back on board. If he can do this, he's got a clear shot to at least the general, and he will be a force in the general also. You're gonna see the same typical attacks that you always have. January 6th was his fault, even though he asked everyone to be peaceful prior to the riot. He's going to be labeled a racist, even though in 2020 he got a much larger share of every demographic, minority demographic specifically, than he did in 2016. The guy is back. Like I said, if you were a GOP voter, there's a lot to be excited about here. I'm seeing a lot of people right now that they're calling for a primary with DeSantis and Trump. I still don't think that that's a good idea. I think that dependent on how that would go, there's a large chance there that could alienate huge parts of the GOP. Like, I don't expect McConnell or McCarthy, especially right away in the beginning, to come out and support Trump. I don't expect that, and you shouldn't either. I think if he does get the nomination, that they're not going to have a choice but to jump behind him, but at that point it'll be because their arm's being twisted. What I think you're going to see is McConnell, McCarthy, Lindsey Graham, they're going to come out and they're going to try to pin other candidates in there to put them up against Trump. I will not back an establishment GOP candidate. I will not. I'm tired of losing I'm tired of these losers. Trump, he's figured out the winning formula, how to get to voters. So he needs to take that winning formula, keep his own ego in check, and he'll be just fine. But like I'm going down right now, if Mike Pence, Pompeo, someone like that were to be thrust into the primary, first of all, they're going to get absolutely steamrolled, and I don't think that hurts Trump at all. I think the majority of the GOP has moved on from these people, and they're just clinging to what little bit of power they have left. Another reason we need to get the McCarthys and the McConnells out of their current positions. But now DeSantis throws a interesting and potentially dangerous twist on this, because DeSantis himself is very popular. He is the only one that can potentially beat Trump in a primary. The problem with this is, can they go through a primary process without alienating a huge part of the base? Again, if we go through that and we do alienate huge amounts of people, I will not vote GOP. I will stay home. Because right now, the best thing that you could see is for these GOP leaders to throw their support behind Trump and unify the party. That is what we are going to need going into the 24 election. And like I said, guys, he looked absolutely great. And another thing that I'm going to point out before I cut this off, because I've heard a lot of concerns about it, especially relatives of mine. They were turned off by this, and you know, a lot of them were Trump voters. They're all telling me how tired they are about hearing about 2020 and the issues that a lot of us perceived were there. But Trump was able to, in this speech, bring up issues that everyone knows is issues. He didn't claim that this was fraud. He didn't claim that, you know, it was stolen from him. He brought up things like the problems with voting machines. Democrats and Republicans have both had issues with this in the past. You can go back, Elizabeth Warren's the top one that comes to mind. She's really complained about this. I believe that was back in 2018. The idea to get to paper ballots. The idea to stop voter harvesting. These aren't conspiracies. These are things that people within politics have complained about for a really long time. The other thing that he brought up is, why does it take some of our state officials a week to count your votes? I mean, that's absolutely unacceptable, guys. If Trump stays out of his own way and he runs on this platform, he runs on his record, then we have a lot to be excited about here. I want to see DeSantis. I want to see McConnell and McCarthy out of there. But I want to see all of these GOP leaders who really have the best interest of their voting base, who have moved down the MAGA platform. They've chosen that this is what's best for the party, to turn our backs on these GOP elitists. The ones that are not part of that establishment wing of the GOP, I want to see them come out, and I want to see them throw full support behind Trump. I want to see the party unified, and I want to see us win in 2024, which I think is very, very possible. Thanks, guys.